everybody, it's Dr. Lori, the Ph.D. Antiques Appraiser. How are you? This is Dr. Lori on Live. This is my treasure hunt game. Have you played the game before? If not, this is the game that's going to teach you how to identify what's valuable at that yard sale, flea market, estate sale, auction house. Okay, what are your questions about? Here's object number 1. What are your questions about this object? Yeah. So we're going to go into some other things. I'm going to teach you what's what. Hi, Mick. Thanks so much. It's nice to see you. The gang's all here and you're here too. Mick, thanks for your super sticker, your super chat. I appreciate those. They help support the channel. So Mick knows that you can support the channel as you all can with super chats and super stickers. What questions would you want to ask about this object? This object right here. Well, what do you think? What do you know? Is there a maker's mark? Let's get out the Dr. Lori cam. Let's see. It's right here. Let's get out the Dr. Lori cam. I'm going to put this down. Have you take a look. Let's see if we can get it. There's your maker's mark. Can you see it? I want you all to be able to see it. There's a bird. There's a W.M. Rogers. Hang on. There's a star and 162. Can you see it? I want you to be able to see it. That's why my staff came up with the Dr. Lori cam. Then there's some other things happening on the back of this. The verso or the back is always important. I want you to look at the back. I want you to assess the back. The back will tell you a lot of things. I want you to see things like this particular reticulated or punched out area right through here, okay? And then you're seeing, again, the way in which the piece was constructed. Construction's always going to be very important. Okay, I'm going to pick it up again. Serena, thank you very much for the super sticker. I appreciate that. It helps support the channel so I can teach you more. When you're looking at this piece, so Karen wants to know if it is silver plate. I'm going to hold that question for a second, and I want to point something out to you. So right here on the Dr. Lori cam, put this down again, and I want to bring it back to you. So you can see something, and maybe Karen can answer her own question. Do you see that coloration, that discoloration between, of course, the silver and then this color, which looks kind of golden, but really is more of a reddish color? Can you see that? Now, Karen, do you think it's silver plate? And I want to teach you those things because I want you to be able to start to be able to answer your own questions. When you look at something, what to look for. So this indicates that this particular piece has started to abrade, scratch, or rub off. You've heard me say it. You've heard me say, don't polish silver too much because every time you polish silver or silver plate, you abrade or scratch off, like abrasion, right? Scratch off one level of the silver. So this area right here that I pointed out to you actually has that coppery color, right? That coppery color down here, indicating that, yes, indeed, it's silver plate, okay? Silver plated, right? Looks orangey gold, so you got it. And this particular piece is one that is silver over copper. When you see silver over copper, that little phrase, which you didn't see on this, will indicate you that. I don't want to hear about acid tests. I don't want to hear it. Here's why. Acid tests will ruin your pieces. All of you want to, I want to do this acid test and the hot needle test and this test. I have many in my videos, if you use the binge link, many in my videos, ways for you to have smart testing so you don't damage things with acid. I know a lot of people go, I use the acid test. I use this test. I heated this up. Be careful. You're going to ruin stuff. So I don't want you to ruin pieces because condition is king. Remember, use the binge link, watch the videos, and you're going to learn all of the different tests for all the different, of course, types of materials. This particular piece, silver over copper. What I was saying before I got like crazy about acid tests was when you see that term silver over copper, it usually can help you date the piece. Silver over copper is one of those terms that you see on a lot of pieces. It's not on this piece per se. That's going to help you date this piece. But if you see silver over copper, it's usually an early 20th century marking. Indicates silver over copper, usually at least the first 25 years or even as much as the first 40 years of the 1900s, they use that term silver over copper. So that might be ding, ding, ding. When you see it, you might go, hey, Dr. Lori taught me that. That's what I'm all about. I want to teach you stuff that you can use when you're in that thrift store, when you're in that flea market. Okay, other questions about this piece? So this one, you now know the maker's mark. Okay, So I'm glad you don't do it. I don't think thrift stores should do it either. Nobody should do these acid tests. They're damaging pieces. And they're damaging a lot of pieces. Some of these people who are marking these pieces, you know, magic marker on the bottom of a Yadro figurine, you know, they really should be careful. Those stickers that they put right on top of the hand painting of Meissen pieces. I mean, my goodness, some of this stuff really, really needs a little bit more care when people are, of course, trying to market them. Okay, other questions? So we know it's silver plate. We know who the maker is. What other questions would you ask of this? How about using an earth magnet as well? Oh, I love you too. You could use magnets if you like to use magnets. Just be aware of magnets. Be careful. Be careful what magnets can do. They're strong. Other questions? What other questions would you ask about this place? This is Dr. Lori's treasure hunt. We're trying to figure out the treasures. Rose, thank you very much. And this is what I mean. People are supporting the channel, and I'm grateful, and you're helping everybody. It's not made in occupied Japan, this particular piece. This particular piece is silver plated. Thank you very much for the super sticker and other super stickers. We appreciate it. Is there a specific smell? Yes. Actually, silver plate has a specific smell. The smell that really I want you to learn is what sterling silver smells like. So it has a distinctive smell as well that a lot of people can actually recognize. How old is it? So you want to know how old it is. This piece dates to about the 1950s to the 1960s. Okay. Other questions. What's the design? It has a reticulated design. It has a scroll work interior. And then it has this open area, which is called a cartouche. C-A-R-T-O-U-C-C-H-E. A cartouche actually says that this is where we're going to put the monogram. This one is not monogrammed. So oftentimes resellers like that it's not monogrammed because you're not trying to actually get away from somebody else's initials. KT, thank you very much for the super sticker. I appreciate you supporting the channel. And I'm going to thank all of you. I appreciate it very much. And we all appreciate it because it gives you things like, of course, it gives you things like the Dr. Lori cam. So let me show you the middle area where the cartouche would be. And I want to basically break this piece down for you so you have an understanding of what it is. That's why the Dr. Lori cam is so helpful. Here is the open cartouche. It's that open area, which usually you would have, and I'm making a circular movement so you can see it would be a round area right in the middle where you can actually see this area that you would put an initial. So maybe, you know, you'd put an L for Dr. Lori or something. But that's basically the area that is not, of course, monogrammed or engraved. And that's important because then other resellers don't say, oh, it's dirty. It has somebody else's monograms on it because people don't want other people's monograms. We know that. The piece has scroll work detail as well all the way through. You can see the scroll work detail here. You can see elements like these, right? Like these elements, which are classical elements. Scroll work is this design, this scroll design. Let me get you a good example right there. Scroll work like this design here. Looks like leaves, but actually scrolled in each way. Sorry, guys. Scrolled in each way. Scared to hear value, already got rid of a carload. Yeah, well, you're scared to hear value, but you've got to learn this because then you won't get rid of a carload. Notice too, of course, the nice element all the way around the rim, which is, of course, that rope. That rope element you will also see in jewelry. And this is an important point. What you see in the decorative arts, things that decorate homes, are also what you're going to see in architecture, also what you're going to see in fine art, also what you're going to see in jewelry. So where do you think David Yurman got the idea? Well, this idea of that rope is very, very common, the great jewelry designer. But this is what I want you to take a look at. Okay, ready to guess the value? Thanks, Denise. Thanks for the super sticker. I appreciate all of them. Becca, thank you very much for the super sticker, for really supporting the channel. Thank you, Alyssa, too. I appreciate it. It's really going to help all of you. It's going to help me make more videos, which help all of you. Pajama Mama Miller, thank you for the super sticker, too. What condition would you consider this to be in? Well, Jacqueline, that's a really good question. I think this is in good condition. I really don't like, of course, this area. Where did it go? Over here, where, of course, we're seeing this come off. And that's from over polishing the silver plate. But these pieces are nice, and these pieces can be the kind of thing that lots of people are looking for. So we're going to guess the value, get an idea about value. It has good condition. It's got a couple of inclusion issues. We're going to guess the value now, see how well you play. You ask some very smart questions. Condition, date, maker, right? Thank you so much, Em. Central Florida, we're fangirling. Thank you so much, Central Florida. I miss you. I love to be there in the nice, warm Central Florida. So, Carissa, what do you think? We've got some numbers. $18, only $18? Oh my gosh, you've been thrifting too long. Okay, let's see. Other numbers. Some numbers pretty high, some numbers really way too low, right? Oh, Barbie's here. And Barbie's kind of in the way. I'll go this way. Do you like it? I like it. I think it's kind of nice, right? The whole back. A sticker was here. A big label was here. You can identify that, right? You can see the big label. And when I touch it, I also feel some of the residue, in fact, of the adhesive, the glue that was there, right? Okay. So the other thing I want you to think about is, yes, it has a lot of design work for it being, in fact, a piece reticulated. So that's relatively labor intensive. Gato, thank you very much. I'm happy that you are binging. I'm glad you're new subscribers. And I'm very happy you're going to do a video call. I'll teach you what to look for. I'll appraise your objects during the video call. So thanks for signing up. The appointments are easy to get to. This particular piece, it's a nice piece. It is silver plated, but the classical nature of it is that. Okay, everybody's numbers in? What do you think? Still coming in, still coming in. Other things I want you to think about is that the majority of this piece really is in very nice condition. So basically good condition, both sides, right? I don't like that I can still feel that, right? Got to be careful about that. So this particular piece with respect to the design, of course, is this particular piece is designed on, so stamped on, and then again, the silver plating happens in the electroplating process. And I talk about this in my silver video, talk about electroplating, how you identify it, whether or not it's electroplated nickel silver or electroplated copper with silver. Got to look for those particular points. And I want you to be able to identify it. Also, think about weight. How heavy might it be? Copper, in fact, is a durable metal. So a lot of people will actually utilize copper. And that's one of the things that we're looking at here. Okay, right? Remember to like the video. Thank you so much. And don't forget to, of course, subscribe to the newsletter. Lots of tips, lots of information on my website, which is drloriv.com. I'm going to ask you to subscribe to the newsletter on my website at drloriv.com. Why? The newsletter and newsletter members get special information, special tips through my newsletter. And my newsletter comes out regularly. You can sign up. It is FREE free. And when you go to drloriv.com, you're going to see the free menu. Go right there and it'll say sign up to the newsletter. Lots of ways to do it. The newsletter is really where a lot of people are finding even more information. In addition to all the information I put, of course, here to subscribers here. So you can subscribe to the newsletter at drloriv.com. Thank you. I'm glad you love the newsletter. There's lots to it. Okay, we're going to see what the value is, right? I told you what to look for. I told you what will give you some of those clues, right? You're going to learn about the smells in this video. I'm using the binge link. Value on this piece, $65. So those of you who are saying, oh, wow, Dr. Lori, $65? Yeah, based on actual sales records for pieces in this condition. So that's what we're looking for. This kind of decoration, there's no cartouche, and that raised the value. All right? No, there is a cartouche. There is a cartouche. There's no monogram in the cartouche to mess up the value. That's why $65 can be used in different places. It's a really nice piece. It can be used for barware. Could you do with another hat? There you go. Hi, Open House Texas. I just signed up for the priority service. Yes, the priority service, very, very popular, as well as the video calls. So yes, and I'll give you, of course, the correct identification because you're going online. You're not always getting the right identification. You know, I had this situation today in a video call. You know, she's looking online and she's finding one particular piece of costume jewelry. She found two different makers for the same costume jewelry. And it was the same piece. And I said, no, it's not that which you found. Well, that's what it says online. That's what they're posting at. They're wrong. And actually, she almost lost a lot of money if she hadn't asked me to correctly identify which maker made that particular little turtle brooch, you know, because people got it misidentified. This means a lot when you're trying to list something or resell something, or if you just want to know the value for your own collection of jewelry. So yeah, The priority Ask Dr. Lori service is a great one too. That was a fun one. How did you do? Okay, are you competing with one another? All right, well, you got to make sure. So then I'm going to do this one. You know what? I'm going to wait on this, but this is coming up. We'll talk a little bit about ceramics and Dr. Lori's treasure hunt game, right? Okay, next, I want to talk a little bit about quilts, okay? And I want you to be able to understand and identify quilts because there's a lot of them out there. Some of them are worth a lot of money. What questions have you got about this piece? If you were going to, in fact, try to, of course, guess the value of this piece. So it's a patchwork quilt, right? Yeah, you're learning to price them right because you've got to price these right. Patchwork, right? It's patchwork here. On this side, I'm going to open it up. It's a small baby quilt, actually. On this side, here you go. So Joanne asked, is it hand stitched? So that's a good question. A very good question. Is it hand stitched? So handmade is different than hand stitched. Okay. So let's go through this and let's talk about handmade versus hand stitched. I want to give you a good example. That's why I'm searching. So just give me a chance to search, guys. Here we go. So handmade versus hand stitched. So I want you to look right here at this piece right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. These 4 blocks. Get to it. Sorry. Okay. These 4 blocks. Got to move my finger. Sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4. Do you see how it doesn't meet right here? Right here in the middle? Right here doesn't meet up. Okay? Someone who's hand stitching will not make that mistake. This piece is machine stitched. Okay? And somebody didn't measure. And somebody didn't iron. You're going, didn't measure, didn't iron, didn't measure, didn't iron. And here's why. An iron, as if any of you are, of course, seamstresses, an iron is your good friend. You've got to iron down these elements. But right here, you can see the way in which this was done with a sewing machine. Now, let's talk about textiles and let's talk a little bit about the patterns. If you look at this piece, you can see this piece and you can see the piece on the back too. Couple times, I always say, people will say, oh no, Dr. Lori, I always say an area of damage will teach you a lot. So if you can find an area that might not be perfect, you're going to do that. So here we go. Any rips or tears? Well, if you come here, you can see this piece right here. Right here is a hole, like a pocket hole. And I'm going to show it to you here. Hang on with me. Oh, sorry. Hands don't want to work today. Do you see this? You can see that. So not, again, completed. And it's just a hole. What it also should show you from the back, always look at the back. Look at the back of everything. Right? It's the same way as you're looking at the back of your jeans to see how it looks back there when you're buying blue jeans. Same thing. So basically, if you look here, you might notice something that's different about this that is not, of course, what we typically see. Sorry, I just let go of the camera. What we don't typically see on a true quilt. What do you mean a true quilt, Dr. Lori? It's patchwork. Isn't it a quilt? Technically, it's not a quilt. Oh my gosh, it's a cover. Because what's happened here is this was supposed to be stuffed with the batting and then the quilting was supposed to take place, but it never got finished. So whoever did this much, but didn't do, of course, the quilting portions. That's right. Quilts are bound, but quilts must also be, wait for it, right, there's no batting there. So basically, quilts also will have the quilting. Can you see this? Do you see the quilting there? This is a real quilt. And you can see where it's been batted inside and quilted. I just picked pink and pink to give you an idea. Can you see those, of course, those small areas where you're seeing, again, the stitches? And you've heard me say it. A stitch in time saves 9, right? A stitch in time saves 9. So if you measure an inch, you count 9 stitches. That means that that person has been hand sewing the 9 inches and keeping with the rhythm, usually of the quilting bee. So that's important too. Getting back to the one I asked you about, baby quilt. How old do you think it is? What are your questions? Maybe that's one of the questions you should be asking. And how can you tell? Can you tell by the pattern? Can you tell by the textiles? Is the fabric used vintage? The fabric used is from the 1980s. And those of you who know fabrics may recognize the fabric by a relatively well-known designer. When do you start seeing bright color synthetic dyes in quilts? Okay, the first thing is when I talk about, of course, quilts, 19th century quilts and 20th century quilts. I have videos about both of those time periods for quilts. You can binge watch and you can, of course, find them. I give lots of information about the threads, about the synthetic dyes, about how certain fabrics come into widespread use. You can find them there. This particular one is a relatively famous fabric designer of course, these of the 1980s. So those of you should be going through your head going, okay, what should I think about? Is it Laura Ashley? Is it Waverly? Is it those? It actually is Laura Ashley. But that should have been the question you're asking yourself. Oh, okay, I'm starting to get this. So now I showed you a quilt with the batting, right? With, of course, the stitches. And I showed you this baby quilt. It's not Rachel Ashwell, it's Laura Ashley. Ashwell, Ashley, but it's Laura Ashley. Very, very famous, of course. And this particular piece, very nice with respect to these pieces. This was a kit. In the 1980s, the late 1980s, this particular piece was a kit. So basically, they give you all the pieces to make a quilt. And then they give you the backing, too. And you'd have to buy the batting, right? They give you the backing. That's this area back here. They'd give you this sheet. And then they'd also give you, of course, the batting. You get the batting, you put it in, and then you have to do the real labor-intensive work, which is all the quilting. And then to identify, of course, what's more valuable. So this is just sometimes considered a topper or an incomplete one. Kala, nice to see you. It was an honor to talk to you too. So this is an incomplete one, not a complete quilt. Sometimes they call them toppers, and sometimes they're just incomplete, okay? So that's what you see. The pieces were pre-cut in the kit. Yes, yes. These kits still are around. And one of the most popular things that people are finding now are these craft projects, unfinished or never opened craft projects, vintage ones from the 60s, from the 70s, from the 80s that no one did. And they're really wonderful. Quilts, beautiful. This one is beautiful. And I did actually help to curate an exhibition with respect to quilts, some of the most popular quilts from the 19th century, from the Civil War era. And that exhibition is going to museums right now around the country, which is a lot of fun. Quilts are a wonderful, wonderful part of art history, really. Talk a lot about how we actually reused and remade pieces. Okay, now it's time. You asked a couple questions, not too many. I think you're getting a little lazy. Guess the value. It's baby's quilt. It's baby crib size. It's 1980s. It's made, I would say, you know, it's made by someone who has some skill with a sewing machine, but not a perfectionist. And then it was abandoned midway. Some people would take this, buy this if they saw it as a thrift store, and they'd bat it and they'd continue and they'd complete it. So only $2 for all of this. You did actually do a little bit of work. $2 is way too low, right? It is nice. It could be finished, right? It could be finished, quilted, right? No odor. Very good question. Does not have any odor. With textiles, you got to think about odor. Also, when it comes to quilts and many other types of vintage textiles, remember the agitator cycle in your washing machine is not your friend in this case. So don't just think, oh, we can just throw it into the washing machine. Be aware of that too. This particular piece, just the fabric. Karen's at the beach and she's saying just the fabric could be expensive. Oh, okay. So people are thinking about that. Just the fabric might be expensive, even though it's this far down the quilting road, not quite complete, but still pretty nice. $85 because of its age. So you're thinking, because it's from the 80s, it's worth about $85. Mary wouldn't pay more than $10. I bet Mary is not a quilter. Maybe I'm wrong, but I bet she's not. $10 is way low for this. Way low. It's still beautiful. It's very indicative of 1980s. Candido. There's Candido. What else do we think? What else do we think? Any more? Here's what I want you to remember. I want you to remember that when you see these patchwork pieces, hello, Lori Disney. Whenever we see these patchwork pieces, I want you to remember they should be directly lined up, and you can line them up. It just takes some time if you want to be a quilter. The other thing is baby quilts are oftentimes looked for. There's Nyla. Many of our regulars are here tonight. Thank you for joining me. This particular piece and the actual elements The pattern is really quite desirable, of course. Now, it's somewhat gender specific because it's so pink and so feminine that you're thinking, won't likely sell for that. It's worth about $45. You don't think you can get $45 out of this? Okay, well, I guess I'm going to break all of your hearts. The piece is worth about $85 in this condition. Why? Because somebody's going to take it based on actual sales records where similar ones sold, similar condition, similar process, take it, finish it off, and then resell it in that $125, $150 range. Quilts are hot. Baby quilts are hotter. But what you want is a quilt like the one I showed you, right? You want a completed quilt if you're looking for it. When you're pricing those, you want to think about, of course, the market. You want to think about how labor intensive is it? You know, they did more labor on the quilting here, right? On the actual quilt with the batting and quilting each one 9 stitches to 1 inch and all. But the patchwork here and the fabric still has value in this piece too. So I want to remind you about that too. Oh, and I want to tell you what I found recently. Oh, you're going to love this. So a lot of you are asking me about, you know, what are some of the other things I love? I know you love art, antiques, and collectibles. What else do you love? I love bread is what I love. I love bread. So I've been on a very, very strict diet for a long time. I'm still working at it, but I had to find a little bit of bread. It was driving me crazy. So I found some bread, and you're going to love this. I hope you love it, but I wanted to point it out to you. It's from the Essential Baking Company, and this particular bread, sourdough, and I actually put it as one of my special recommendations because you could have fresh bread, no gluten, no GMO, good for you, not going to weigh you down. This particular bread that you can get 15 minutes in the oven, you're going to have a fresh loaf of bread, has a very long shelf life too. If you want to find it, I gave you an easy way to find it, and that's on my specials and shop page. If you notice, if you're on a cell phone or a smartphone, there's a menu. You just hit the menu. You can see that with these green arrows. Look all the way over to your screen of that green arrow that says menu. And then, of course, you're going to hit the specials and shop element right at the top of my website, drloriv.com. Right at the top, it's going to say specials and shop. And then you got to scroll. Scroll down. You're going to see the mugs. You're going to see the loop. You're all looking for the loop. And my special recommendation of the bread as well. So I want you to go to that page. I'm going to say it for you again. It's the specials and shop page. It is at the top of every web page at drloriv.com. And you can see that green arrow right there pointing it out to you. Because when you say, I can't find the loop, I can't find this, there's the loop. Hit go shopping now. And then you can also get the bread, which I think is wonderful. It's a little bit of a treat for some of us who are really hanging in there. Oh, root for me, Lisa. I am trying. It is not easy, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. Anyway, so that's what we've got. Okay, you did very, very well. Keep up the great work sharing my knowledge. Kyle, I'm happy to share the knowledge. I appreciate you guys sharing the channel. Share, share, share. Yeah, Liz, make some for your husband. It's easy. 425 in a hot oven, put it in 15 minutes, and it's wonderful. And it doesn't have that heavy sort of all weighed down kind of thing. A slice here and there. But get some. You could get it right there. Shop, specials and shop. Trying to make it easy for you to find those things. Okay, so there's that. Really wonderful. Lots of things going on. It's been very exciting here. Yeah, my weight loss is very high to diet. I'm very, very trying. I'm not going to go on and on about my weight loss. I've been talking about it for 25 years. So I'm not going to go on. But I am trying. And the bread is a little bit of like a treat. So you don't get totally off the road. You know, the road, you're going down the road and everything's okay. And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, I'm going to have all this stuff. But so a little bit is what I've been allowed. But I wanted to share that with you because I thought it was really pretty cool. Anyway. Couple of things that I want you to know about too, because many of you are asking me, thank you for the super chats. Thank you for the super stickers. Many of you have been asking me about these specific things that you see a lot when you're thrifting, when you're sourcing, when you're doing this. I'm so happy you love the loops. The loop is really a money magnet. Everybody's telling me on my video calls, Dr. Lori, thank you for the loop. Thank you for recommending the loop. I've had other loops and they haven't been as good. This loop really works. I can really see it. And this is some of the stuff that I really want you to see. And I'm going to use the loop just to show you. Hello, Lori. Thank you for your support as always. I appreciate it. Many of you are starting new endeavors and you're doing great. And I'm proud of you and I'm here to help you. You're going to succeed. So they're saying, you know, your loop really, really helps. It's a good recommended loop. And it is. The light is great. But I want to show you this. I think I'm going to be able to do this with the Dr. Lori cam. So bear with me here. I think you're going to be able to see what I'm going to see. Okay, now. Just stay with me. Don't go anywhere. I want you to look at this plate, and I want you to look at the elements here. So, sorry. Do you see that? Okay, hold on. I want you to see that the black line is actually many black lines and gray lines. Okay? So I'm going to hold it. I know it's going to take a while. Do you see it looks like black and white and black and white like a stripe? And then when you pull it away, it doesn't look like that. Well, if you notice with this particular piece, when I talk to you about printed dots, these black little sheaths of wheat actually are little tiny dots, comprised of little tiny dots when you look at it through the loop. The gilded portion, in fact, the gold part, is actually a straight element. And what I mean by that is, it's basically, I'm sorry, guys, I'm not doing this well for you. It's basically straight. So what this is, I'm going to put this down for a second. What this is, I'm going to put down the Dr. Lori cam. These elements right here, the black ones, are little tiny dots, just like I've told you with respect to prints, okay? Little tiny dots. The gilded part or the gold leaf part up here, those, in fact, are strokes. So some of this is actually printed on transferware, right? And some of this where they go back in with a paintbrush and they actually put the detail in. This is how we're going to identify this next piece, because this next piece is the next one. Many of you are looking at ceramics. Many of you are trying to identify how these pieces are made. So what are your questions about this particular piece? So you've got this plate. It's about 10 inches across. Thank you for the super sticker, KNS. Thank you very much. I appreciate your support always. And I hope you guys are sharing the channel, because you're sharing the channel and telling other people. Other people can add to the community, can help you, can also help me to, of course, help you more with more videos. They didn't teach you how to hold a loop in Dr. Lori cam at Penn State. Well, thank you, Sarah. They taught me a lot at Penn State. I think that's snippy, Sarah. But yes, it was hard for me to actually hold it here and hold the plate and make sure that I didn't damage it. So I'm sorry if that was difficult for you. I'll try to do better next time. But having said that, I work very hard to try to teach you what I'm trying to make sure you see. How old is this particular piece? How old do you think the piece is? Does that sheath or that plenty symbol actually have an understanding? It is part of a larger set. Remember that images like, of course, the sheaths of wheat or anything that has to do with prosperity, harvest, and such. So Sarah's like, I know Sarah was joking. It's okay. Sarah was joking. It was hard to hold it because I don't want to actually break the piece, because just as Joanne said, it's porcelain, so I don't want to drop it, right? That's what we're looking at with this particular piece. I want to buy and collect antique Victorian copper pudding molds. Okay, are they really worth $200 plus? There are some that are worth upwards of a couple $100s a piece, right? So now, if you want to find, of course, those that are at a lower price point, you're going to have to search some more. And maybe you're not only going to be able to search online, what you're probably going to have to find are those folks who don't recognize, right, what of course they have. And there's lots of people like that out there. We see a lot of those pieces, and you find a lot of those pieces. I highlight them in my Real Bargains videos, where of course I talk about real bargains. So that's what we're looking at. I wonder if maybe Sarah went to another school other than Penn State. Maybe that's what it is, like Ohio State, or I don't know, another Big Ten. Just thinking about that. Anyway, Sarah meant no harm. This particular piece is a good example. There are marks on the back. Yes, there are marks on the back of this particular plate too. And this plate actually has a mark that looks like this. Let's see if I can handle this. Maybe this will be easier for me. Yep, here comes the back of the plate, Evelyn. You guys are so funny because I have like a million things to do and a million things to tell you. And you're all like, show me this, do that. What about this? How about that? I'm getting there. Eternal harvest. Does that help you? What does that help you? Does it help you at all? Does it help you identify it? You could look up the mark, but will you be sure that that's correct when you get the answer online? What's the condition and the construction of the back? There's the back. What information do you want with respect to construction? Is the plate heavy or light in weight? The plate is of significant weight. It's not super heavy. It's not super light. I know, Sarah. I do love you. I know. And you were funny. It's true. I know funny. Let me tell you. I know a little bit about funny. But it is hard to hold all these things because I want to make sure that you're getting the information you need. And we have shown you, of course, in the videos how to use the loop and such, and also how to identify these things. And I want you to get it. Okay, so what does this tell you? You have this mark. Now you're going to go and look up the mark and see what you can find. Okay, well, you could do that. You could also try to do this without doing the mark. I want you to test yourself because people like me at my level are able to look at this pattern and say, I know what the mark is before I turn it over. And I know you can do that too. You can do that with some of the more common pieces, or maybe you're really great. So lions make you think England. Okay, so the lions make you think England. Let's see. Those lines make you think that must be English. Those English ones looking at next to one another. All right, eternal harvest. You think it's imported. Well, imported from where? I got people all over the world here on the channel. Imported from where to where? First time to see a pink mark. Okay, the color of the mark is important. The color of the mark may also tell you information about other things. Okay, so the color of the mark sometimes will tell you, in fact, time period or date. So pink is unusual for you. So you're thinking, is it China or is it Asian? Remember how big Asia is. Where in China? Is it China at all? Okay. So far you haven't got it. No country, so it's American. Nope, not American, not Chinese. Oh, geez, Lori. Not British. Oh, no, now what do I do? Ha. So you have to start to recognize what's what. Notice how they copied this image of the wheat sheath from here, right? They copied it. So it's the same wheat sheath on the front and on the back. Now, this is gilded. Would this plate be more expensive than its silver counterpart when it was first being introduced? Is this the ritzier of the sets? That's going to impact value too. So I want you to have an understanding of all of that. I'm going to put this down too. So you have a sense of how this all works. When you're looking at these types of pieces, I want you to look at certain things. So notice again the curve. Notice the curve of the plate. That will help you to identify, whether or not you have a plate or a dish. Remember, plates are usually flat. Dishes have a little bit of an indentation. It's not from Belgium either. This particular piece is a nice piece. Have you decided and thought about what we've got with respect to this piece? Any other ideas? Any other questions? We talked about this a lot. I broke it apart. I showed you what to look for. Is it a reproduction? Most plates are reproductions. They're reproduced over and over and over again. This is part of a service for 12. 11 other ones were reproduced from the others. It's not from Germany. So I want you to know what questions to ask. Is it used for display? You could actually eat off of this section of the plate. You can eat off of this particular plate. People would. A lot of these pieces are in fact for cabinet plates or for the plates. The size is 10 inches in diameter. So this might probably be, my father used to have big plates. He liked to eat a lot. He had big plates. So he made me laugh because he'd be eating one meal and be talking and thinking about the next meal. He was just like, he liked to eat. Not a fat person, but like to eat. Anyway, but 10 inches would be like a small plate for it. Had a box of broken jewelry and was going to sell it all. Then on your recommendation, I bought a loop and found a Tiffany & Company white gold heart pendant. You're welcome. I'm helping you make money. Thank you, Mary, for sharing that information with everybody else. Yes, I want you to get it. And, I hope you sold that Tiffany piece for enough. So I hope you of course, correctly identified it. Let me help you. But yes, that's what you want to look for. You want to make sure that you have the right ones. You don't have a knockoff, right? Or a fake. You've got the knockoffs with the watches and sometimes with the big names like Tiffany. But I'm so happy that you didn't just sell it off like that. You got to do a little bit of that work. The loop will really help you. And the other thing that will help you will be, of course, the diamond tester and the gemstone proscenium tester. These testers are really wonderful. You put them on, of course, the rings or whatever it is, and it will tell you. So don't forget about these. Where do you find them? I told you before. It's, of course, at Specials and Shop. Go to the menu first if you're on a smartphone, and then scroll down and get that loop. That loop will help you. Everybody's telling me that loop's helping. I'm so glad, because I spent a lot of time to go through and find these pieces that were low cost and relatively good for you to be using them. What kind of ceramic, Evelyn? It is porcelain. It's porcelain ceramic with transfer wear and also with gilding or gold leaf here. Well, gilding. That's what you're basically looking for. Relatively nice piece. No chips, no cracks. What should the next question be? Do you have the whole set? That should be the question. Do you have service for 12 of these dishes? Salad dishes, soup bowls. Do you have bread plates? Do you have cups? Do you have saucers? Do you have a salt and pepper shaker that matches? Do you have a sugar and creamer and teapot that matches? What do you have? Do you have a gravy boat? Do you have a covered casserole? Not the Netherlands either. It's not Ukrainian. You guys are trying every single country. You're so cute. That's okay. Keep trying, because you know what? Education doesn't have to be pretty. We just have to get to the right answer. We'll get there. Okay, this particular piece, really nice. You saw the pink mark. You saw, of course, the rim. It's not a donut hole mold, which I taught you about last time, right? Lots of different things. But I want you to know what to look for, because once you learn what to look for, you'll understand it. Same shape, reminds you of your mom's china, late 1950s. Interesting. So Lisa's using something in the computer that is her brain to, in fact, bring something up, recall. And that's what I want you to develop. I want you to educate those eyeballs. Sorry, Pete, not Czech, not Irish, not English. Educate those eyeballs and do the recall. People go, Dr. Lori must have a eidetic memory. She must have a photographic memory. I look at everything. Our visual skills are so good. I mean, our brains really work like a computer. I want you to learn it. I want you to get it. Okay, so where are you going to find out everything about this? You're going to guess the value? If you try to guess the value, what do you think? So we might have all the information we need to try to guess the value for this one plate, not for the whole service, because we don't know what we have. But that would always be a question. Mom had that 1960s American, not the 60s, not American. Mom might have had something like this. My head hurts. Come on, Mick. Your head doesn't hurt. You can do this. This is easy. This is easy, because I'm going to make it easy for you. Here's how I'm going to make it easy. Barb thinks it's worth $6. Mary thinks it's worth $30. Cindy thinks it's worth $60. 60 is too high. 8 is too low. 8 is too low. These are too low. These are too low. It's got gilding. It's got gold on it. Oh, okay. 45 for one plate from the 1950s. Okay, think about what the market would be for something like this. Many of you do not recognize the mark. Does that help you or hurt you when you're going to relist it? Think about that, right? Think about where it probably was made in that time period. If you learn about the history of these particular types of pieces, you're going to be able to say, oh, it must be made there because of what's happening in the world then. And that's one of the things I want you to think about. Okay? All right, you keep thinking about it. See what you can do. See what you're thinking of. This particular piece is in beautiful condition. One thing that it does have that I didn't mention, do you see this gilded rim all the way around? Typically, it would say 22 karat gold rim or 24 karat gold rim. Typically, it would say that. It doesn't say that here, which indicates that the fineness, 22 karat, the fineness mark has been left off of this piece. That's also what to look for. I like to break down these pieces so you start thinking about the elements of these pieces that you need to know. Where are you going to find more information about this particular piece? We got a couple more. While I sneeze, excuse me. Excuse me. Couple more. All right. So where are you going to find more information about this particular piece? Guess where? The community tab on YouTube. Subscribe. And of course, the community tab is going to have all the information about this particular piece. This dish worth $25. All the information about it, including where it was made, is on the community tab. I want you to go to that community tab because the extras, the tips, the discounts are on the community tab. Go find out more about this piece and see whether or not you have something in your cabinet from your mom or grandmom, or maybe from that thrift store that's really worth some money. The community tab is there, and where we celebrate the community, right? The community that is all of you. It's good to see all of you. Thanks so much. God bless you too. It's good to be with all of you. I'm Dr. Lori. Thanks for being with me for Dr. Lori's Treasure Hunt. I'll see you next time.